Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is, oh gosh, I don't know what day it is actually. Wednesday, August 27th, 2025. And Cracker Barrel caved. Cracker Barrel brought back their old logo, the one with the old man. They have scrapped the whole cheese looking logo. I don't know if it's far enough though, but probably it'll be enough for a lot of the people who were boycotting after they changed their logo. I'm not sure. It seems like it is half capitulation, but they're just moving around their DEI stuff. It doesn't seem like they're going to fire their DEI CEO. And so I don't know. I don't know if this saved Cracker Barrel or just drove the infection underground, right? Like, sure, it's like a tooth that you've got one of those, oh my gosh, I can't remember what it's called, but if you get this dental work done, the tooth can die and then cause problems, but you have this beautiful tooth on top, right? So it'll go underground and then cause all sorts of problems. That's kind of what I'm worried about. I can't remember the name. Oh well. Israel is the sixth eye in the Five Eyes? No way. Yes way, says BB. So I've got a video of that for you later. Canada will not recognize Palestine as a state in September. I wonder what happened, because last time we heard from Mark Carney, that was definitely happening. So definitely not happening now all of a sudden. So big flip-flop, but that's not surprising really. Parent group is requesting the same digital ID system that they're rolling out in Australia. We have to protect the children, right? Let's pearl clutch about the children while we steal your free speech. And that's what they're up to. How many CBC Gem subscribers are there? CBC won't say ever. And they're going to court to protect their right to not tell you how much garbage and money is being spent on a subscription service that nobody's using. And I probably really mean less than 10, right? Who's paying for a CBC Gem subscription? Absolutely nobody. Maybe the government of Canada in the scale of millions. Like, we've got 150,000 subscribers, but they're all from the government of Canada. Womp womp. That's the kind of scandal that I'm expecting here. 14 years to close the housing gap. So apparently we need to build 3.2 million homes, and 3.2 million homes on the current rate, that's 14 years. So it's not going to happen. That's another word for it's impossible. And apparently, so Carney went to Germany to strike some kind of deal for hydrogen, I guess. He doesn't actually want to be serious about this whole economic or energy superpower in Canada. He wants to do green energy superpower. He just forgot to say the green part. And so he's in Germany, and then they signed this thing yesterday that totally means nothing. It's BS. It's lies. It's fake. It's garbage, right? Like, if you were going to sign a deal, if you were like representing a company or something like that, and you were going to sign a deal, I feel like this is the worst possible deal you could sign. Like, yeah, we don't want to insult you very much, so we're just going to say we'll sign this and we'll work with you at some point in the future if we find a project that works for us. But they're not really going to work with us in the future because we're not actually selling what they want to buy, I don't think. Not in the scale they want. Pierre Poilievre says, much media hype about Mark Carney's signing of a joint declaration of intent with Germany. What does it mean? Nothing. Nothing. Read the fine print. This JDI, which is a joint declaration of intent, is not legally binding and does not create any financial commitment. All show business. You couldn't buy a car signing one of these, right? If you said, listen, I'll sign this thing that's non-legally binding and stuff, okay? They'd laugh you out of the dealership. They'd escort you out of the dealership and then laugh about it later. Like, what an idiot. Why would he think that he could do this? So this means nothing. You can't do anything with a non-binding agreement, okay? But don't you remember the non-binding agreement we signed? Yeah, get out. So here's the joint declaration of intent between Canada and Germany, and the highlighted part says, this joint declaration of intent is not legally binding and does not create any financial commitment. So get out. Get out. And put down the mint. You didn't pay for it, and we know you didn't pay for it. Get out. Roy Green says, Carney trumpeting huge new enterprise with Germany. Read just 60 seconds of the attached piece by Germany's public broadcaster. He says, Germany's economy is imploding. German economy in crisis. When will it bounce back? Oh, I'm sure it's not that bad. Here's the piece. The term recession refers to an economy that is shrinking. This has been happening in Germany for 2 years now, the only country in the European Union experiencing such a decline. In 2024, more companies closed than in the previous major financial and economic crisis in 2011. High electricity prices have meant that energy-intensive industries have been hit especially hard. In addition, companies are having to close due to shortage of workers and specialists as society is aging. Germany's burgeoning bureaucracy is another major factor hampering business. The new government has set out to improve the situation quickly and sustainably, but this will not come about overnight. This is the finding of the federal government's Economic Advisory Board in its spring report. The German Council of Economic Experts spoke of a period of considerable sluggishness and practically ruled out a rapid recovery. They're the people who just threw us out. Okay. Our economy is absolutely screwed. Yeah, we'll work with you, Canada, if we can, when we can. Get out. See you later. Right? Like, I don't have a lot of confidence in this agreement to pull Canada out of the nosedive that we've purposely put ourselves in by putting the same idiots in charge. Again, here's Mark Nixon. He's highlighting Mark Carney, who is called out by the not Canadian reporter, but the German one, who says, so you guys don't have any infrastructure to actually export anything for us at all? What do you mean? And Carney can't really, well, this face right here, this, you caught my hand in the cookie jar face. That's the face of Mark Carney's answer, right? He doesn't have a good answer because, well, he knows it's bullshit, just like we know it's bullshit. The only people who don't are the people who watch CBC and believe them. Here we go.
Prime Minister, just one question about raw materials. Could you please explore a bit more what Canada can realistically actually offer to Germany and Europe, given the fact that ports on the East Coast and also pipelines are still lacking?
Thanks for the question. Look, there's a huge range of immediate opportunities with respect to critical metals and minerals, and there are medium-term opportunities with respect to all forms of energy, including LNG and hydrogen.
There's no Eastern pipelines, Prime Minister. How do you propose to get this to market at all? I thought it was funny as well. Mark Carney doesn't look calm, cool, and collected when he's standing there winding a string around his fingers.
Prime Minister,
during the question.
Just one question about raw materials. Could you please explore a bit more what Canada can realistically actually offer to Germany and Europe, given the fact that ports on the East Coast and also pipelines are still lacking?
Thanks.
Somebody took the string away when he answers, right? He's like, "Oh man, I've been playing with my hands too much, and the camera caught that. So let's do it again. Back it up, Rosemary. Can we do that on here?" Dan McTeague, and at the end of this answer, Carney's talking about hydrogen. I'll let him
for the
say
question. Look, there's a huge range of immediate opportunities with respect to critical metals and minerals, and there are medium-term opportunities with respect to all forms of energy, including LNG and hydrogen.
LNG, hydrogen. Okay, that's what he's focusing on here. The LNG thing is being asked of him because that's what Germany wants, but the hydrogen was kind of shoehorned in. Where did that come from? Nobody wants Canadian hydrogen. They want Canadian oil and gas, right? Dan McTeague is highlighting this. He says, unless your advisors are snowing you or you're unaware, German Chancellor visited Canada 2 years ago and formally requested more oil and natural gas from us. Not hydrogen, not biofuels, not electricity, oil and gas. Stop stalling or pretending you didn't know. So Tim is with Mark Carney and he's saying, oh, we're going to go be an energy superpower. But they're just playing. They're just pretending. It's playing house. Here's this guy. Here we go.
Parliament is coming back on September 15th, and until then, we're making every minute count. That's why I'm heading to Berlin with the Prime Minister to build Canadian-German partnerships in energy and critical minerals to shore up our economies, industries, and security. And we're not showing up alone. We are bringing a Canadian business delegation to find new European markets for our energy and minerals. By working with our allies, we can give Canadian industry the market certainty it needs to build projects of national interest and ensure our resources reach across oceans, not just across our borders.
Thank you, and again, welcome aboard.
Parliament is coming back on...
Right. So it's a big showy push, but it's not real. Right? I don't believe it's real. I don't think that they're going to come back from Germany. It's real when Trump announces these things because companies are investing billions of dollars in the United States. And so that makes it tangible in a way that these deals are not tangible. There's nothing, right? And they're like, oh yeah, we're totally doing stuff. Rah, rah, rah. It's like, what's his face? Carney going to Ukraine and hanging out with Zelensky. I'm not fooled. I see that for what it is, which is desperately trying to be part of the conversation that he was cut out of. But other people may see that and see a strong prime minister or see somebody who's, informed on the war or whatever it is. And it's all bullshit. It's all just a way to position more propaganda, and they'll sell you whatever you want to hear, basically. Here's our new energy minister saying, oh man, now that we've got AI was like, you know what people want? Oil and gas and LNG. So we're going to give them that. Here's the energy minister. I don't know that you needed AI to tell you that. Here you go.
I think there was a view prior to a few years ago that the need for natural gas would be relatively minor and relatively short term. And I think what we all realize post the Ukraine, post what's happening with AI, that natural gas is going to be a transition fuel that's in greater demand in Germany and for a longer period of time. Canada has the opportunity to be a great partner to Germany in that regard. What has changed is, as of June, Canada started shipping its first LNG shipments. We have the enviable situation of producing the lowest carbon footprint.
And he says we do that because we produce it with green energy. I don't know if I believe that. But we started shipping LNG to who? Who are we shipping LNG to? To Germany? Like, what's the scale? How many tons? Cubic tons. How many cubic tons have we shipped? I'll have to find out. I genuinely don't know at this point in time, but he's saying that it's been running since June. Okay. Have we sent all that money to Ukraine? Is that what's going on? Here's Ryan Garrettson. He says, Carney's getting snippy with the press once again. Note how many times he touches his face when answering this question. We'll just listen to 1 minute of this. Here we go. It's been one day. I think yesterday we had an incident of too fast talking. Apologies. Here we go.
Saying that those two projects, Churchill and Cote-Curl, would be on the list of approved. So I don't know if you could clear that up.
C'était en français ce matin.
Exactement.
C'est une question de traduction.
Okay.
I said it.
I don't know why he would pull the French stuff. Here he is talking about 5 core things. He's talking about trade with the United States and how trade with the United States is we've got the best deal in the world, basically, for trade with the United States. So he's taking credit for having the best deal in the world, or saying, don't rock the boat for having the best deal in the world. And these are the things that we have to focus on instead. That's what he's talking about here.
So just to be the way I'd frame it, Mr. Curry, is this way, which is that again, what I was saying in c'était en français ce matin également, right?
As I was saying in French this morning,
was 85% of our trade is free trade. At present, we have the best deal, etc. You know that point. There are 5 areas where that is not the case, and that those are in strategic sectors for the Americans: aluminum, steel, autos, copper. They happen to have a specific on copper, and then, of course, lumber, softwood lumber, which has been an issue. So those are the areas where immediately we are focused on improving the outcomes, if we can. And in order to do that, and this is what I said on Friday, in order to do that, we will have to look at other areas where we can have win-win cooperation, other areas. Now, so it's not, it's an isolation of the set of issues around there, around those strategic sectors for the American, and all of this in the context, as you know, of an upcoming review on CUSMA that will start next year, but in effect we're beginning to prepare for it now, and I would expect the Americans to be doing the same. So it's within that context we have both a broader partnership if we can negotiate that and find win-win opportunities that trade off against the two, which is what we're working hard at. And I'll finish by observing that Minister LeBlanc,
It's a lot of words to say a whole bunch of nothing. Okay, Maxime Bernier cuts through the nonsense, and he says during the spring election, both Carney and Poilievre campaigned on imposing dollar-for-dollar retaliatory tariffs on U.S. imports. I was the only one campaigning against this. It was always a thoroughly stupid idea to tax Canadians in order to get Trump to change his mind. Now Carney has acknowledged my stance was the right one by dropping almost all those tariffs. The next intelligent move to ensure we reach a trade deal is to put dairy supply management, the main irritant for the Americans, on the table. And so he's responding to this article. It says, Carney says it's time for elbows up as Canada drops many retaliatory tariffs on U.S. Or time is up for elbows up. The whole elbows up thing was it's just a slogan. It's absolutely, it's something meant to distract us. It's not meant to inform us. It's not meant to make things better. It's meant to just completely distract us. Sam Cooper says Canada's fentanyl czar reportedly told U.S. officials, quote, "I have no authority." I have no authority? Oh, man. Again, this was another thing. Dan says, Dan's an MP, I believe. Yep, conservative MP. He says, "This is embarrassing to all involved. No strategic plan. I don't even know if he's relevant anymore. It was just another Trudeau NDP type program that sounded good when they announced it, but in the end, it didn't do anything." So no authority. Where has he gone? Is he still being paid? Why? Why are we wasting money on this stuff? It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. All right, we've got our grab bag of governance. And there's so much other news. Like, there's so many crazy things going on. I was going to start with the invasion of the United Kingdom, and like that girl has become a meme, right? Here's the meme, right? And I've started sharing the image and I think not this image, one without the deportation as the moderate position, just the image of the girl's hands with the weapons and stuff, right? And saying like, listen, like this is happening for a reason. It's not to imply violence. It's to imply, holy cow, this is how far we've come. This is mainstream, regular people are talking about this. It's insane. So there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on as well, rather than just the grab bag of governance. But we've got our Canadian news to focus on first. But all of that invasion stuff is happening here. All of it is happening here. And we are being browbeaten into silence about it. And so we need to talk about it. I digress. Let's do our grab bag of governance. Concerned Canadian says, Mr. Flip-Flop, Mr. Carney, has had his hand slapped. So Canadian Prime Minister now says the country won't join the recognition of the Palestinian state at the current time. That was as of yesterday, 11:08 a.m. Israel time? I don't know. So August 26th, that was announced. So, wonder how that came about. Eh? Conversation with Trump, maybe. Nick says, I'm waiting for Pierre Poilievre to oppose boots on the ground. CTV News is reporting Prime Minister Carney visits Ukraine, Canada, not excluding boots on the ground and possible security guarantee, officials say. And TR guy is saying, did anyone hear a peep out of Pierre Poilievre about the $2 billion Carney just gave to Ukraine, or the $4.3 billion before that? I didn't either, right? Like, yeah, so Slava Ukraini for the Uniparty. Everybody in the Uniparty wants to send money to Ukraine. Isn't that weird? And Poilievre's silence is weird. And Nick says, I'm still waiting for Poilievre to oppose boots on the ground in Ukraine. All this money for the foreign war, and it doesn't make any sense. John Paul says, the veil is being lifted from our eyes, and what we see is frightening. Many choose not to look at it. Others, like John Paul, can't look away. We don't have the luxury of ignoring this. It requires immediate attention and swift actions. I just don't believe in Canada anymore. I don't believe it's a country. It's more like a post-national global district, a resource labor colony for oligarch interests. I don't believe that we're citizens. We're more akin to debt-ridden indentured servants to the corporation that our once prosperous country has become. I don't believe in our politicians. They all seem like political constructs, sloppily regurgitated scripted rhetoric. I don't believe in our Westminster parliamentary system. It's all merely performative charade to provide the peasantry with the illusion of participatory governance. I don't believe that we have rights. I believe at best we have state-sponsored privileges which can be revoked at the behest of the regime. We saw this during COVID and again presently in regards to the unprecedented climate restrictions in Atlantic Canada. It's utterly draconian. Yeah, it sure is. And this is related, and Greg is sharing this PDF, and he says, this will blow your mind. He says, the behavioral insights and nudging applied during COVID as described by the OECD. And here's an abstract of the paper that he's referenced. And I find it interesting. In 2008, I like documentaries. I like speeches. But not speeches for speech's sake. I like people talking about things they love. Have you heard of the mushroom guy? I'm sure I've talked about the mushroom guy before, but there's a guy who loves mushrooms. He wears a mushroom hat and he talks about mushrooms, and like listening to somebody who loves what they're talking about there's something about that that's just compelling. And I'll listen to that. So I listened to TED Talks before I understood what the world was and what TED was. But anyway, I listened to these TED Talks, and there was a woman who, oh my gosh, I got a notification and I lost my train of thought. I can't remember what I was talking about. Darn. Anyway, this abstract is shared by Greg, and nudges. And so the TED Talk, so there was a TED Talk about nudges, and they removed the TED Talk about nudges, but I just consumed all these things. So I've watched the TED Talk 3 or 4 times. It's probably still on YouTube, but talking about how Obama had a nudge unit in the United States, and like this guy worked for it, and then the nudge unit in the United States in 2008, 9, 10, that was started by Obama and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, was modeled on Tony Blair. I think it was Tony Blair's nudge unit in the UK, or Tony Blair was 2012, right? I could be wrong about that, but they were sharing information about how to nudge citizens and how to change citizens' minds and things like that. So a quick example, and there were books written about this that I read as well, but a quick example is like you can't asking somebody to pay their taxes because it's the right thing to do or something like that doesn't really work. But if you say all of your neighbors have paid their taxes, then people pay their taxes. There's something like 20% response rate to that. Like if you're like, oh, all your neighbors have paid their taxes, but you're late, get on it, or your neighbors are gonna know, or something like that. And people respond to that in a way that's like very, very high, way higher than advertisement. And that's a nudge, right? Doing that is a nudge to get people to pay their taxes. And so they do this on a grand scale to manage societies without legislating things. They did it during COVID, and this is an abstract describing that, but they're doing it now in different ways as well, with the fires, with all of that kind of stuff. So key messaging in this, this is regulatory policy and COVID-19 behavioral insights for fast-paced decision-making. And key message, regulations seek to impose rapid and widespread changes, or regulators seek to impose rapid and widespread changes both to the way society and economies function at the macro level and to the daily lives and routines of individuals at the micro level. Decades of research in the behavioral sciences have shown that social context and behavioral biases can influence behaviors as well as efforts to change them. And down here it says there is a lot of promise. Cases collected from 10 countries and discussions from the International COVID-19 Behavioral Insights Policy Group demonstrates how BI units are making positive impacts on the crisis response. Lessons learned from the experiences can help the field of BI evolve, promote resilience, and prepare for future crises. These include, and then it gives some examples, but behavioral insights is BI, and they use that as code for the nudge unit, but that's what it is. Behavioral insights. If we do this, then they do that. So if we do this a bunch, then everybody will do that. And it's very interesting. It's interesting to me because I think that they're manipulating people and people don't realize it. Daily Skeptic says the left's pet causes are not popular with the public. No one likes Keir Starmer. No one wants a wealth tax, and normal people aren't that bothered by JD Vance. These fringe campaigns are very astroturfed. And so Charlotte, who I've talked about before, this is part of the nudge. Your neighbors want you, your neighbors have paid their taxes, right? Your neighbors are out in the streets demanding equity. They hate JD Vance, blah, 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 blah. But it's false. It's fake. It's a construct. They're making it up. Here's Charlotte to explain it very, very quickly.
I mean, the word I use now is astroturfed. All of these campaigns often come back to the same groups, same people. What the left tactic is often to splinter, to make one entity look like 10. They constantly want to distort perceptions, basically. If you find yourself going out and talking to members of the public and you get a sense that none of them are voting for Keir Starmer, none of them want a wealth tax, none of them believe all these radical views, so you're getting a sense of majority view, these people have to convince you otherwise. They have to manipulate the public into thinking that everyone is raging against JD Vance, and that's the only way they can really market their fringe politics.
Right, so they have these false constructs that push people and pretend one group of 20 or so is 10 groups of 20, right? And they all show up to each other's thing and it looks like 10 different groups, but it's all just one group doing the same thing over and over again. So with that, I have to say goodbye to the stream. We're only halfway through our grab bag of governance and we've got lots of show left. If you're interested in the whole show, head over to CanadaPoly.com. We'd love to have you. And otherwise,